At 10:30 here on BBC1.
This is the BBC for the Eastern Counties. Now the regional news with Penny Bastin.
Good evening. The rig support ship, the Oakley, is this evening still being towed back to Lowestoft after spending most of last night adrift.
The vessel broke free from its moorings with 7 men on board and drifted without power off Humberside. It was feared it would collide with a nearby rig, but today a tug managed to get a line fixed and started towing it ashore. Coastguards had hoped the Oakley would be back by 10 o'clock tonight, but they now say it won't be back in Lowestoft before midnight.
Police in Suffolk say a smuggler may have been killed attempting to bring drugs into the country. 26 kilograms of cannabis with a street value of £100,000 were discovered on a beach near Aldborough. A badly damaged dinghy was recovered further along the coast. Meanwhile, 2 men are in custody after customs officers in Ipswich seized a haul of cannabis said to be worth £1.25 million. A new report says the economic recession is hitting East Anglia harder than any other region in Britain. The report by the trade union-backed Labour Research Group says the rate of company failures in East Anglia is also higher than in any other part of the country. It suggests the poll tax has led to an average 45% increase in bills in the region, and while unemployment and business failure are rising, growth and investment are falling. Although most of the region escaped the worst of the storms over Christmas, there were some very young victims of the weather. 5 baby seals were washed up on the Norfolk coast on Christmas Eve. One had been swept 300 miles down the coast from Scotland. They're being cared for by the Marine Life Rescue Centre at Bacton, where they'll be nursed until they're fit enough to return back to the wild. That's it from us in Norwich this evening. Michael Fish has the weather prospects. From all of us here, good night.
Good evening to you. Some more wild weather to come, I think, for most parts of the country. Just look at those isobars there, really packed in. That means gales or severe gales in places. And there's another weather system rushing in from the Atlantic that's going to bring some wet weather with it as well. In fact, the cloud from that already beginning to push into parts of Western Ireland. A fair number of showers still scattered across the rest of the country. But by 6 o'clock in the morning, that rain well into many western parts, and then during tomorrow, as you can see, it moves on across the country, clearer weather following along behind. But we keep those isobars, we keep those very strong winds right the way through the day, as well as with that rain and showers. In fact, there's a fair number of showers around at the moment on the latest radar picture, mostly over Ireland there, but some in the west as well. But as you see, they've died away in central and eastern parts, so a mostly fine night to come there, and a fairly chilly one too, a touch of frost in places. But as we saw a while ago, before the night's out, outbreaks of rain and in places sleet and snow spreading into at least many of those northwestern parts before the night's out, and that wind up to gale force again by morning, even severe gales in places tomorrow, and a very wet start to the day over much of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Fairly bright to begin with in the southeastern part of England, but during the course of the day that cloud, wind and rain will work its way southeastwards, and I think in the afternoon some really wet weather actually getting into the southeastern part of England, by which time most other areas should have brightened up to be some sunshine to end the day. But a fair number of blustery showers coming through in those gales and severe gales, some of the showers heavy with hail and thunder, and a fair bit of snow to come on those Scottish hills. In fact, many of those showers in the north turning wintry as the day wears on. Now, temperatures tomorrow will be a shade higher than today's, but I don't think with that wind and with that rain it's hardly going to be noticeable really. 8 degrees is actually 46 Fahrenheit. As for the weekend, well, there's the chart for Saturday, still packed with isobars, stiff westerly winds, and indeed right the way through the weekend those westerly winds are going to be there, making it feel quite cold and continuing to bring a fair number of blustery showers in, more particularly into the north and west, and the Scottish Highlands coming out worst of all. And that's all.
Tomorrow on One, a one-man show from Jasper Carrott.
And all those imponderable questions of life, like why do women pluck their eyebrows? That's kept me going for years, that. I could never figure it out. You stand in front of a mirror with a great big pair of tweezers, yanking out every single hair with incredible amounts of pain, and when you've finished, you get this big black crayon and you fill the damn things back in again.
24 Karat Gold, tomorrow at 9:30 on BBC1.
And it's Comedy Now on BBC1, with a surprise present for Victor in a special Christmas episode of One Foot in the Grave.
They say I might as well face the truth, but I'm 1 foot in the grave.
It's a new year and a new season on One. Chris Barry stars in The British Empire.
This is a leisure centre for the community, Colin. We can't have people strolling in off the streets.
May to December continues in a new series.
Morning, Miss Fly.